Can't anybody say anything?
Oh, no, we were gonna do that. Absolutely. Come on over. Let's take a few minutes.
My name is Doug Starr. First of all, I want to say thank you. You guys are fabulous. Second to none, and thanks for taking the time out to do this. Awesome. Pat's up there right now. It may be illegal for the Angels to be hugging, but I guarantee you that he is up there hugging, high-fiving. I've had the opportunity to know Pat probably longer than anybody in this building, except for maybe his siblings. I'm a friend, fellow scout, Eagle Scout, brother-in-law. The guy had nothing but character and integrity. Unorthodox at times. But it's a quality I wish I had more often. I'm very conservative and I want to do right and careful. Pat lived outside those boundaries at times. Amen to that. Pat had his hand in every possible proverbial cookie jar that was available. Whether he was invited to the cookie jar, he put his hand into the cookie jar. He had his hand in the scouting cookie jar, as deep as it could go. He was not only an Eagle Scout, a Scoutmaster, committee chairperson, assistant Scoutmaster, commissioner. He's held every hat possible in scouting. But the most important thing he did in scouting was push and prod, antagonize. He was a pit bull at the ankles of hundreds of scouts, pushing them and prodding them to become better and greater as an Eagle Scout. He was a force. He had his hand in the Restore cookie jar. I hope he didn't take anything out of the cash register. But I tell you what, he loved that place. I'd never been there, but I'm going there. I'm going to buy shingles, I'm going to buy a door. Just because. He loved that place. He would drive me crazy talking about it in Dubuque, Iowa, and 4 hours away. He had his hand in Habitat for Humanity as deep as it could go. He was proud of his accomplishments, his volunteer work. He had his hand, not very long, in the Marine Corps cookie jar. But what another way to volunteer. And he had his hand in the family cookie jar. He gave everything he had to his family. He loved everybody. He is in heaven now with a camera over his shoulder, a coffee cup in his hand, and a grin from ear to ear. I treasure the memory. I'm a little unorthodox myself at funerals. I don't come here and get sad and emotional and feel bad. I come here to absorb this, the positive, the good things, everything that you can say good about a person. I'm absorbing it like a sponge. I sit here and I think people think I'm nuts because I smile at funerals. But there's a lot to absorb here. Good friend of mine, he went too soon. I love him to death. Thank you.
Just before I talk, I'll tell you I hate public speaking, but Pat told me that I need to get up and tell everybody about the stairs he built me. Those are my stairs. He took care of me. I took care of him when he had his seizure in Sheldon. I told him to come up to Des Moines and live here, and helped him get a job in an apartment. And most recently I had knee problems, and he helped me go to Iowa City. He was a trooper. I was a mess. Then I'm like, why don't you buy a house? What are you saving your money for? You can't take it with you. Come on, just get a house. So we found this house, and he bought it, and getting in the stairs was almost impossible because I was on crutches. I'd have to go backwards. So he spent weeks building the stairs for his sister Lori, which is me, and he was so proud of himself. He was so proud of himself for those stairs. I think I probably should inherit them and take them with me, but that's the house, so that's not going to dearly on Sundays with Green Bay Packers games. Every Sunday he'd come over, and Frank and Lily and Pat and I would watch the game, and that was our routine. So when the Packers play, we're going to have a special spot in my house for him. And he wanted me to tell you that those stairs he was very proud of that he built for his sister Lori. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Scott Bonds, and Pat was my uncle. And yeah, on part from the family, I want to thank everybody for being here. It means a lot. I know everybody had to travel far distances, but we all appreciate you being here. So as the deacon was saying, we keep saying to ourselves, it just feels like a dream. It just feels like we're not really here. But during times like this, I often wonder how I want to be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
So Pat was a man of many talents, scouts, habitat, but I wanted to kind of focus on the Boy Scout part and the Boy Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. And those are the values that Pat lived by. And then I question, what words do you live by? A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And that embodies what Pat lived by, those values. So a little bit fun stories from our side. He had a great relationship with my wife and our daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And he would often come over and do his laundry on Mondays and bring my wife lunch. And that's just who he was. He cared. And he just loved being there for us. He took family pictures of us. He involved our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wherever he could spread his reach, that's how he was. On his Habitat for Humanity trips, I mean, you can see all the millions of photos he had, but what I took from it is seeing the people's faces in those photos and the relationship those people had with Pat. They all had a piece of him. We would spend weekends working on my first house. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have many male role models growing up, but Pat was for sure one of those. And so what would happen is we'd start doing a project, and I would want him to kind of guide me, and he'd put the hammer in my hand, and he'd go, just tear the wall down. I've never done this before, I don't know. But we pushed each other, and the end product was amazing. One of the funny stories we had in my new house is there was a fence where the previous owners had kept dogs in. And I go, you know, I really hate that fence. And before I know it, Pat was over there on the pole, shaking it back and forth, trying to take the fence out. And he's like, Habitat can pick this up tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. What?
We took the fence out, Habitat picked it up the next day.
Oh my gosh.
We weren't scared to do the projects, but at the end of all this, Pat had a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's without question. He had strange ways of getting there, but he always came from a place of love and admiration. So in closing, one of the founding members, Robert Baden-Powell of the Boy Scouts, said, the most worthwhile thing is to try to put happiness into the lives of others. And that's something that I think Pat lived every day with. And I can say with great pride and admiration that Pat lived by this every day. This is who Pat Bonds is and always has been to me. And I will do the absolute best to keep his memory alive and strive to put others in front of myself. And that's how I think Pat would want to be remembered. Thank you.
Do you see why I love him?
Hi, my name is Bob Drury. Lifelong friend of Pat. Our mothers were friends.
Best friends.
Best friends.
Best friends.
And, so I met Pat at an early age. We were probably about 8 when we met each other for the first time. Pat was not only my best friend, as I always called him, he was my brother, another mother. We did many things together. The last thing we did together was we went to the Iowa-Nebraska game. It was another friend of mine that lives in Omaha. And of course, Pat being Pat, made friends with all the people that we went with. And they all, have been writing me condolences because, they met Pat once. And they were like, we only knew him for that short time, but we could tell he was a great person. Because I know the one friend, he is a big hunter. He does volunteer work for different hunting organizations. He takes veterans and cancer survivors on turkey hunts. And he was gonna have Pat come down over to Omaha and do pictures for him. And matter of fact, he was gonna call Pat last weekend to set up the final times and everything. And like I said, Pat was not just my best friend. He was the only brother ever I had. In and out of Scouts.
My name is Tony Schmidt, and long friend. I met Pat. He was with the Marines, and I wasn't a Marine, but he met me with another Marine that I knew, and I didn't know how to take him.
Amen.
But we keep back at the view. We keep bumping into each other, and we got real close. But photography was his art. But there was another thing that he did really well. Whatever he touched, he worked at a body shop at Dan Cruz, and he restored a car, a 76 Trans Am, and it turned out beautiful. I'm a big car guy, and the car he did this 30 years ago, and I still see the car, and when I look at this car, and it's still beautiful. His hands touched it. It was just amazing to me, the talent that he had. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melinda Hendrickson, and like Lori, terribly fearful of public speaking. But Lori and I had the pleasure of working together and getting to know one another at Greenwood Elementary School. I was the music teacher there, she was the art teacher, until I retired a couple of years ago. Sorry, it's a good gig. But, you know, Lori would talk about her family sometimes, and then lo and behold, a couple of years, comes a guy named Pat Bonds. Like, what are Bonds? Pat Bonds? And sure enough, and Pat really, like Deacon said, kind of came in like a whirlwind to our very small parish. And he took pictures of all our big events. You know, like, if we'd have celebrations or confirmations or baptisms, he was always there with his camera. And my husband and I are kind of in charge of the music in our parish. And Dennis asked him one day, well, do you sing? Well, you know, kind of. Well, come sing with us some Sunday. So, you know, here would come Pat, always with his coffee cup, you know, ready to sing with us. But, you know, we're a Drake Newman Center, and so there were lots of students. That's why we're such a small community parish, because we're mostly made up of Drake students. But, you know, as Teresa, our secretary at the church, said to me yesterday, or Wednesday, I guess, when I was there, that, you know, even the students were like, oh, Pat, the photographer guy, oh, Pat, the donut guy. You know, so even the kids knew Pat, and like Deacon or somebody said, you know, he was always doing his signing as much as he could during the service with the deaf community, and he was just an endearing member, and I just wanted to say on behalf of our parish that we'll miss him.
Thank you.
So my name is Bruce Buchanan. I'm sorry about my voice going. I am a Boy Scout with him. And I'm an Eagle Scout, not former, I'm an Eagle Scout. Only 4% of the kids in scouting become Eagle Scouts. So that's a wonderful thing for Pat. But he also has Garden Country Award, and he also has a Silver Beaver Award, which is even more rare. You know, as I'm on the executive committee for the Mid-Iowa Council, and with Pat, I spent a lot of time with him the last 5 years, going around to camps across the region to assess those camps. He was a national camp assessing, on the national camp assessing team with myself and a few others. And he was also a camp commissioner at times up at camp, and we enjoyed that time together. I want to give you a funny. So he and I were camp commissioning up at camp Matigua, and we had just laid down to go to sleep after the first day of the start of camp, after the first fire. And so we were bunking together. And I'm starting to fall asleep, and of course what he says, Bruce, are you asleep? I go,
Oh my gosh.
Dad, what? I forgot to tell you about this time when I was up camping, you know, and we went up to Baldy, and Baldy is a mountain, okay, up in Philmont. And I said, okay, what? Well, it was just so much fun, and he spent time telling me. I said, okay, good night, Pat. Silence. Bruce, one more thing. Oh, Pat. Every night.
Oh my.
I have stories, folks, of Philmont. And every night it was, Pat, why? Well, it's just one more thing. A big kid who loves scouting and who just loved people. God bless us.
Amen.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Matt Epperson.
person. I am one of the probably thousands of Eagle Scouts that Pat pushed to go this way. I worked with him 4 or 5 years at Camp Antigua here, and to see this dude, I think he would have been in his 40s at the time, who was just keeping up with all these 18 to 20-year-olds running around crazy on 4 hours of sleep. I never would have guessed how old he was at it. And he pushed me to probably be who I am today. And he took pictures of my wife and I when we got engaged. In all aspects of my life, he's been there. And it unfortunately was been a few years since we had seen each other, because I had moved to a different town, gone to school, started a business, started a family. But my wife and I just happened to be in a certain store downtown, shopping for some small furniture, and from across the room we hear, "Hey!" And just like that, the conversations from years ago just started right back up. "Hey, what are you doing? How you doing? Oh yeah, you took our pictures." And he will be missed by so many more than could make it here today.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Connie Welcher, and all my scouters will know if there's a chance to talk, Connie's gonna get up there and talk. So, I met Pat through scouting, and I actually wanted to tell you a story about my son, actually. My youngest son, Brooks, worked with him for a little bit at Antigua, and they got to know each other and would chat because Brooks is very much into art and artistic expression. And Pat was never part of any of the troops that our boys were involved in, but I wanted to echo a sentiment. He was passionate about any scout that he came across, whether he was personally involved in their career or not. As soon as he knew that they were a scout, he wanted them to be successful in and out of scouting. And so a couple years ago, in 2017, my youngest son was graduating from high school, and I don't know if any of you have had seniors, last minute you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to get pictures, and I've got to do all this crazy senior stuff." And so I thought, you know what, Pat does fantastic pictures, let me see if you can arrange a time for them. Well, he wasn't available to do his portraits, so he recommended another friend of ours to do the portraits, but we still wanted to get, the out and about kind of pictures, and so he made time to do his portraits with Brooks, because Brooks really wanted his portraits done with him. And so it came about, I was like, "Okay, Brooks, or Pat, how much do I owe you, for your services? You're a professional." "Oh, don't worry about it, just yank them off the internet like everybody else does." No, that's not gonna happen. We're professionals, you did the work, so he quoted me a good price, and we went about our business. Well, a couple months later, Brooks had been requested to, or invited to attend a tour in Europe to sing with the Iowa Ambassadors of Music, and that was going to be way outside of our budget, like way outside of our budget. And so we started up a GoFundMe, and Pat was literally the first person to donate to that GoFundMe and to get it kicked off, and I'm so thankful for that. And about the end of the time that we had to make our payments, we had this really big balloon payment come in, and I didn't know how we were going to make it. And at the very end, there was an anonymous donation. And so I'm going through the list because, we want to thank everybody and send postcards and anonymous, which always kind of breaks my heart because I can't thank those people. But I looked at this anonymous donation and I went, I recognize that number. Because it was an off number. It wasn't like a typical $100 or $20. No, it was a $303 donation. I'm like, $303? Where have I seen that number before? It was how much I was charged for the portraits. So,
no way.
about a month later, I said, I contacted Pat because Brooks wanted to get a camera to take with him. And I said, Pat, Just by chance, did you make a second donation for GoFundMe? I'm like, because it's just a real weird coincidence that it was the same amount. And he said, you know, those are supposed to be anonymous. I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank you. But we reached out to him and said, you know, Brooke wants to get a starter camera. We really don't know anything about photography. Where would you recommend he go? Well, what's he doing this Saturday? So I, you know, Brooks, what are we doing this Saturday? Well, nothing. Great, I'm gonna pick you up and we're gonna go get a camera. So he came over, grabbed Brooks, and they took off. They were gone for the Saturday. He went and helped him get a starter camera. Then he actually toured around, I guess, Des Moines, taking pictures of things and showing them what was the best position and what was the best lighting and what, you know, what your eye looked like. And I'm like, wow, this was not. It wasn't one of his scoutmasters who was involved in him daily. It wasn't one of his teachers that were involved in him daily. Pat was involved with him maybe in passing, but he wanted him to be successful in his life outside of scouting. I thought that was like amazing. And then come to find out, there were pictures that I didn't even see from Europe that he sent direct to Pat. You know, and all of a sudden I'm seeing these pictures, you know, like, wait a second, I didn't even see these pictures. Well, I sent them to Pat. I'm like, okay, fine. Apparently I'm second now. Okay. So I just wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, not only, I'm sure this is not only from his mom, but just his family, the people that he loved, and how he exuded every aspect of the Scout Law, of the Scout Promise, and how he was definitely a servant leader. Because the more I get to know him and the more I hear about him, it's like everything in his life is about doing good, even when, you know, you're not looking. So if we could be more like him, that's what, you know, I would love to take away from today, is to be just a little more like him. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Jess.
Hello. My name is Jessica. My husband and I are the neighbors. And I have to tell you another fence story.
Oh, no.
Ever since meeting Scott and Julie, we became close. And there's a fence between our backyards. And we would get to the point of hopping over this fence instead of going all the way around the block. To the point where we got a big giant ladder and we'd climb up and down the ladder, even after we'd been drinking. And one week we decided, you know, there'd probably be an easier way. We had a gate. And of course, Pat heard this. And come by the restore. When, Pat? What? By this weekend. I'll have choices. I know there's not any there right now, but I will find them.
Oh, my.
And sure enough, by Sunday afternoon, or I don't even that weekend, we had a fence, or a gate. And by the following weekend, we were able to put it in, and now that gate won't ever look the same to me.
Yes.
And he was such a shining light at our bonfires, at the family get-togethers that we feel like a family member too. And after hearing these other fence stories and the other stories you're all bringing, I really think that something that Pat has taught me, and hopefully you, is tearing down those fences and paving that way for community is so important. So, like our previous speaker was saying, let's be a little more like Pat.
Amen. Yes.
Hey everybody,
Hi.
I'm Dan. I work with Pat at Habitat. My first experience with Pat was at the Restore, where I started at Habitat, and he and I lived across the street from each other. He lived on University Avenue on one side, and I lived on the other. And he had this red truck that he kept alive forever.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I had my first winter here now. I killed my early 2000s Ford Taurus, and I bought this Jeep with a rusted out bottom on it. And he offered so many times to try to put it back together. I'm like, don't keep two projects alive. But he and I would carpool back and forth to work. when either of our vehicles were acting up. So my truck would die and be in the shop and be like, all right, ride with me. And his truck would die and be in the shop and he'd ride with me. And you know, I have a picture of that eagle in the corner there that he framed up for me on my desk because, you know, he just appreciated how much we were able to do that back and forth. I also recently was able to travel to Nepal with Pat. And I wanted to share a story. I've heard a lot about how giving he was of himself. And so we're in the airport in Chicago, getting ready to leave on this 14-hour flight. And there's a man and his wife and their young child, and he was holding his kid. And this kid throws up all over this guy's shirt, just everywhere. And he's about to get on this plane. And Pat looks at me, and you know, we're not too far from departing either. And so here we are waiting a couple minutes from leaving, and people are lining up. Plunges his arm into his suitcase and pulls out this white University of Iowa shirt and runs over to this guy and gives it to him. And the guy is so thankful, and he puts it on, and it's like 2.5 sizes too big. So it's big, you know, but somebody from somewhere else in the world has a University of Iowa.
Love it, love it, love it.
And that is a real essential Pat moment, I
Love
think. And some folks have talked about their first experiences with Pat, and now they were kind of unsure about it. And so I got to experience firsthand how Pat has first encounters with other people in Nepal. And so we run into people that are volunteering for Habitat Nepal, helping build houses in other parts than where we were. We ran into a few Australians, and the first thing that Pat does, because Pat wants to connect with people,
He starts talking.
that's what he wants to do, you know. But the first thing that he breaks out is his best Australian accent.
Yep.
Straight on the Barbie and everything. I turned the beatish shade of red sitting right next to him.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? It didn't take more than a couple minutes for him to get past that and start talking with people, and for him to get comfortable with people.
Exactly.
And he did the same thing. We're sitting down at dinner in a Nepali restaurant. There are people dancing up front, and we're getting served food, and there's a table of Canadians, and he just busts out all these A's and the boots and sorries, but it only takes a minute before he's getting people to tell them their life stories and to connect with them. So I'm really glad I got to know Pat. One of the last things that I had is I occasionally walk into the Restore to get snacks and stuff, and Pat's occasionally working the cash register. And one of the last kind of longer conversations that I had with him is he was wondering what to do next. He had been to Nepal, he had volunteered with the Red Cross, he was constantly doing things for other people, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what to do next. You know, and I'm like, Pat, the world is your oyster. You know, you kind of got your new house, you know, you have this motivation to help people do what feels right. And I don't know that he ever decided, but I know that he was going to do something. And I'm just really happy that I got to know him.
Thank you.